it's ODB, our lifestyle podcast. This is issue 61 of Mini Truckin Magazine, January 97. Great issue. Let's jump right in. Before we do, I want to give a huge shout out to Hammered Weekend Wear. HAMMERD weekendwear.com. They've got some new drops. Go pick them up. Check them out. So, pretty cool issue here. Something they did that was a little bit different. Shartsis shot the dime, the S10 on top, and you basically have Summer Madness, Indy Truck Bash, and Mini Nats 96. Of course, this is January issue, so of course they're going to be showing the show coverage from the previous year, and they basically had the three insert photos there from the show coverage. And then you also have the insert photo of the Mazda, which is from the Pacific Northwest on those wheels, though. And you got the club directory. So you got a lot going on in this issue. They want to come out swinging. We wrapped up 96. We're still working on a little video that'll tie into the issue 60 with Last Look and use a little bit more audio from Dion. I did use some in that flip through, so thanks for everyone that watched it. One of the most epic trucks ever and covers ever, but I'm still working on that, and I want to keep the ship rolling. So let's jump in here. You know, keep the project here rolling along, you know what I mean? So, TOC, table of contents. Got about 6 features in this one. When I had originally looked back at this one a long time ago, putting everything together, I didn't have No More Mr. Nice Guy as a feature. But today, when I was looking back at my notes and kind of what I do, I added that in. Wasn't your typical feature that you'd see. Here it says Teresa Thompson's Showtime Customs Prepared 94 S10 is a perfect example of the quality mini trucks coming from areas other than the West. So basically on the cover, just to be clear, this is basically that's your cover truck for this issue, the S10. We'll talk more about this. I want to ask you guys if this is a particular truck that always comes to mind from the Midwest. I'll see what you guys think. Was it maybe featured in Sport Truck years later? So you got the features there, the technical on the cover we looked at. You see the events, which they gave us the insight. But you also have the show and glow in the Great White North. So we got a lot of Pacific Northwest. Shout out to Cliff, one of our last Pacific Northwest guests. Ironically enough, 3 years ago today, I was in the Pacific Northwest, my first time. I was at Relaxin' in the Park St. Louis. No, Relaxin' in the Northwest, the Awakening. And man, we had a blast. So here you have 96, the year in review, which I always like doing these. If you guys listen to the podcast, you know, we try to do a year in review each year and kind of cover some of the big things that happen pop culture wise, but truck wise as well. So here's some of their favorites that they kind of put together, and you can see the staff chimed in there. I am still waiting for the power in my building, so I'm getting excited about that. I don't know. I might keep doing these indoors, though, that AC. So the first feature in this issue, Fast Track. This compact truck enthusiasts enjoy the ... Fast Track. You can see there. Always a big fan of this truck. Something about the wheels in the front end. I love those grills, the bumper. Everything just ties in, the hood, everything. And when it's painted, it's all painted like that. To me, one of the cleanest front ends. And then, of course, the rear, having the roll pan on there. Having the bed cut the way it is. You don't see, I kind of mentioned this before, you don't see a lot of guys these days cut out because, a lot of stuff is raised. But super clean. And then what I always thought was clean back in the day, and you'll still see it, is, people will take this... this little molding deal and kind of put around that sharp edge. So pretty cool. And then you've got the rear 3/4. So suspension work done by the lower level. And you can see that right there on the windshield. Super clean truck. Love this style. So you got Godfather Customs. Rest in peace, Hal. Hyperflex. doing some bushings. I did those years ago, not Hyperflex, but energy suspension on my Suburban. Took everything apart, I think like lower control arms on a Saturday, took them to the place, machine shop, they popped them in. I think like the next weekend I took off the upper control arms. It's a lot of work to do in your driveway, doing it solo. But I used to hate the squeaks. Here you got paper cuts, and you can see maybe Project X. One of those trucks there, the little insert photo there. Still black and white. You know, even though they're rolling into a new year, we'll talk about once they go all color with other changes. So Indy Truck Bash 96, we saw on the cover. You can see the artwork right there. This is the 3rd annual. You see latest Craze Minis. Plays host. I used to spend a lot of time on their website back in the late 90s in this era, you know, just looking at the different trucks when websites were kind of pretty popular. There you got a super clean Mazda. And from the looks of it, it was in one of the recent issues there. You can kind of see they have the board there. This truck is still around, long bed S10. We last saw it. I think that's the one with the topper, right? Saw it at Mini Nats. Which, by the way, Mini Nats, you guys should really come out next April. It's epic. You've got the two-door Blazer, the new school and old school, and plenty of trucks here, plenty of quality. You got the bag golf cart, it looks like, or hydros, and the Geo. Dipping. Now, my buddy Russ and I went to Indy Truck Bash. I always forget, it was 0102. And we had an epic time. Here's Lenny's truck. You guys have heard us talk about it even when Johnny Garage Johnson was on. So shout out to Johnny Garage Johnson. That truck is, I think this was version 2. Version 1, I think, was white. Then it was this. Then it was the convertible. Epic tweed, great colors, S10. And then check this out. A little bit different. I actually was looking back at old photos I took of some Truckin magazines and saw a C10 with a crazy mob. But like, look at the doors on this. Talk about full-blown show truck. A lot of work. Mike needs to do that to his doors on the Mazda Bananarama hammock. I don't even think Mike can say that. So Indy Truck Bash, you can see the coverage was pretty thick. Clean hard body. I love people have been chiming in saying, hey, my truck was in such and such issue and things like that. Look at that. I wonder if people that propose at shows, like how, like what the percentage is of them staying together. I think that's pretty cool. Here you got a mullet alert. Nothing against mullets. Business in the front, party in the back. The other thing I wanted to mention, I just remembered, this was the 4th of 5 covers with Weld wheels. So Weld or Weld Racing, I kind of put them in the same category. They actually had 5 cover trucks with Weld Racing wheels. That just came to mind. And this was the 4th of those 5. Even though Weld Racing wheels were popular, and I guess they still are, I think, they didn't have many covers, you know, or cover trucks with their wheels on it. Mini Truckin Club Directory, so lots of cool stuff here. You know, this was good filler for them, but at the same time, in that era, I know some people laugh, but we didn't. Email was you know, starting to pop off, you know, around, you know, this time. I think by now you guys were all getting, if you were born in this era, or you know, alive, I should say, in this era, you were receiving the AOL America Online discs in the mail like no tomorrow. Super clean Ranger, crowd pleaser. You got those front end accessories. I know Johnny Garage Johnson loves this kind of headlight covers. I remember them on the Mustangs. I think I had some on my first car. Was one of those deals you could run in the auto parts store and slap those things on. And it's ironic how some of that stuff, you know, back then we may not have liked it as well. We did, then we didn't. but how, like I always talk about, with, you know, not seeing that stuff, or like even me, like I kind of like the Mustangs that had the wire wheels on them, and then I kind of got out of that stage, you know, like after Menace to Society, which was what, 93, and you know, now that's like a huge thing, you know, the nostalgia of having the kind of the reverse offset wheels on the Mustangs, the wires and stuff. I mean, it's just crazy how trends go. So Indy's finest, this is the cover truck, and I got a question for everyone. Okay, it may not be the same truck, but you have to admit it's similar. This truck right here, Jason Dandler took this photo. We shared it. We put OLP there, watermark on the front license plate. This truck was later featured in Sport Truck. I don't think this truck gets the credit it deserves. Is it the same truck? It's similar in paint, and if I look where the two-tone starts there, it does start a little bit different spot here. Very similar on the wheels, similar front end. The valence is different. This one's got the more rare valence, I would say. The version I just showed on the screen, that was that has suicide doors, and Sport Truck shot it later on. I never thought that truck got the credit it deserved, but is it the same truck? I'm curious. I would have to dig out my Sport Truck to compare more. I spent a lot of time looking at that truck. That was one of the trucks when Sport Truck shot it, this truck rather, that it was aired up. And that was something they would do to kind of just be a little bit different so that they weren't shooting kind of the same type of stuff. Remember, the engine was a little bit different. I forget if it was this engine, which was a little bit more rare in these years, that, you know, in 94, as far as what I recall, I did not have this engine. And you can see this one actually has a lot of the ABS stuff, which mine did not for 94. So, but that interior, look how clean it was. Factory radio, of course, but I remember when you could actually get a lot of the billet pieces that would bolt around, you know, that factory ugly radio. The more I look at this, I'm going from memory, is if you look at the sculpture on the doors, I do recall the truck I showed you on the screen that it had tweed sculpturing and stuff. But again, I'm not 100%. You know, you guys could chime in if you know what truck I'm talking about. That photo was taken at Sport Truck Nats in 99. So like this is 97. You could see the truck potentially getting redone. Super clean truck, right? So here, the other cool thing was they get the calendar, which kind of became a thing there. You got some clean stereo and whatnot. I appreciate you guys for listening to the podcast and, of course, watching these videos. Really, really appreciate it. If you're like, you know, I'm not a podcast kind of guy, you know, go give it a whirl, man. Check it out. Just search OLP, Our Lifestyle Podcast. Most of you have iPhones or Android. Check it out. No more Mr. Nice Guy. So this was one that I think I knew it was, I knew it was a feature, but I kind of didn't count it as a feature. But this talks about in here, almost 2 years ago, the staff at McMullen Argus Publishing grew by one. A rough young freelancer photographer by the name of Lance Marks was hired. And they kind of talk about that there in this Yoda. So I did add that to my database for some reason. I think when I first went through it, I didn't. The 97 Dodge Dakota, my buddy had, shout out to my buddy Paul Lane. He had a blue one of these. Pretty cool trucks. Don't get the love they deserve. Which I kind of flipped through that pretty quick, but that's just the kind of the first look deal. Remember those famous red ads they ran? I've got a sport truck where they had kind of like multi pages where they were, you'd turn one and it was one truck, you turn the other, and I think they even had a convertible one. That might have been actually the version before that, but regardless, they did a lot of high-end advertising. Here you see a Mazda, Astros, Rangers. This is Mini Nats 96, which we saw the little preview on the cover. And this truck, I spent a lot of time looking at it. I remember it being on the website. You can see they're parked in front of NC. I want to say it was in a different club before NC, but I had the 94 dime. This was the same color. This was the Sonoma front end. I think it's a Sonoma truck. Love that, this thing was bagged and bodied in the 90s, and spent a lot of time looking at that truck. Super clean Mazda. I'd rock this thing every day. That topper, those wheels. And then here's the Amigo we saw up there. There's the interior, something a little bit different. I also had an Amigo, which I tend to forget. I bought it from my good friend. He got it almost new. I don't think he bought it brand new. But it was his first vehicle, and it was static dropped, and had a box my buddy Paul built. And he put a lot of miles on it. I drove it as a daily. Here's the famous Ranger. You can see NC shirt there in the NC camp. And then you've got this killer, super clean Sonoma. Suicide doors. Just totally dig it. I don't know about that. Mike could do that maybe on his Mazda hood. There you got Rucker Fosgate. You got some of the neons. Show promoter Charlie Cobble, right, is how you say it. I know LMC, shout out to LMC from Lowest Common Denominator, LCD podcast. He talks about Charlie Cobble, and remembering, those names that they can kind of rattle off from kind of knowing the history, like No Tomorrow, of, of the region they live in and grew up in. Pretty cool stuff. One thing we've kind of always joked about is, white hats and white shirts, something you don't really see too much anymore. White socks, you definitely don't see. But pretty cool stuff. And then, the other cool thing that I always thought is, like, when you look back at the older stuff, like Troy Underwood was awarded the Mini Truckin Magazine Editor's Choice. And you look, and it was kind of a, by today's standards, you wouldn't, I don't know, not trying to discriminate on age, but, mini truckers just look a little bit different. Here you got the jean shorts and you got the sandals. And again, no disrespect to, anybody. It's just an observation. This is 25 plus years ago, and it's crazy how times change. Here you got, just kind of going through this quick, you can always pause or bump it up to 4K. This is one of the craziest vehicles I think ever featured in the magazine. If you really think about it, the Equalizer. Way before crew cab minis were on the rise. This one is something else. She's checking out that rear door. It's like a limo type deal. And Johnny Garage Johnson would love this one. Talk about an S10. You got the crazy stereo. Clean interior. I think Mike should do this to the Mazda. Extend it. Talk about an extended cab. That's more of a crew cab, but look at that door. It's a lot of work. I dig it. Equalizer Joe Grieve shot it. Of course, he's no stranger to the Southeast. Whether it be Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, he was pretty much everywhere. And the Equalizer. Holy crap. What a freaking mini. This one's pretty cool. So Paul Morton, who we've had on the podcast, he does the write-up on this. And it was out of Australia. So my assumption is that this was like one of those features that ran in Auto Sound and Security, where they would, swap work, swap features, and then it was just too good not to share and run as a feature in Mini Truckin. Soundstream, as you guys know, I've mentioned that they highly advertised in this era with the reference amps and SPL subs and things like that. You can see the right-hand drive. You see the crazy door panels right there, which you get a glimpse of there with them open. But my buddy Paul and I, we ran Soundstream a ton. He built, all of my stuff over the years, and, it was just good product, it seemed like. I think that company's changed hands a bunch of times, and you can just see like a very unique feature, shot in studio, Australian Outback, 2-page feature, but super cool. Shout out to Cliff, recent Pacific Northwest guest. He might chime in, but when you look at all of these killer minis, that yellow Mazda was on the cover with the insert photo. And then you got this ballistic-ish feel on this Yoda. Real clean. And then Mosberry Delight. You guys know this one, right? Went on to grace the cover. Only truck that I think was ever the entire Mini Truckin' Graffiti. Devin has been on the podcast, and this one's a classic. He still has it. Of course, it looks a lot different. You guys will remember it in the blue color, right? Same truck? Pretty certain. It's got to be, right? Here's Mosberry Delight. Got the... Dude, you're not old school unless you got a Sega Genesis in your truck, dude. Mike wants the points. He's got to step his game up. Get him a TV in there. If not, he's going to lose out. Here's another killer Mazda that just is fantastic. Shout out to Tim, NC Florida, always giving me a hard time about talking about Mazda dogs all the time now. You guys know why. But I love his comments on our social post and whatnot. Was that way before the, what was it? Was it Budweiser commercial? Was that? Here's riding around. So you got the puzzle type paint job. Super clean. Always love this look. Isuzu, clean wheels, tilt bed. And that was from Orlando, Kevin Barber. And then tandem axle. I've said before, I'm not the biggest, like me personally, I wouldn't own a tandem axle. I appreciate them. And I appreciate the work in them, but that doesn't take away from how cool they are. I think they're awesome. But I know, like, for me, I'd be like, yo, buying 4 wheels is enough. I ain't buying 6. But I do love them. Speaking of tandems, holy crap, at Camp and Drag, it's probably the most tandem axle trucks in one place ever. So here you go. You can be my personal slave. No thanks. I'm already been married. I've already been married. Is that Sean Carlson? Yeah, there you go. Jokes, jokes, jokes. And what's in the CD changer? Joe Diffie. More Golf Cart Magazine. And is that, rest in peace, I think that's Steve Stillwell on the left right there with that iconic beard he had. Pro Hopper ad with the dime. Eagle 1. Here you have Summer Madness we saw on the cover. And the cool thing is here, August 2nd, August 4th, 10th annual Summer Madness. And that kind of gives us the dates. It kind of coincides with the other shows that were also on the cover. Our customs across the windshield banner. Of course, they've also called that out. Shout out to Rick Bentley, our episode 100th guest. Keeping it 100 with Rick Bentley with the OG. And you can see another photo of it there, super low. He's been doing a lot of stuff. One of the first, if not the first, body to dualies he built. Super clean here. Again, another Mazda. Love that style when the lower portion has the graphics on it. That one wraps all the way around the bumper and everything. Pretty cool there. And you can see a better photo here. Little crowd control deal on it. Super clean stuff. Stage 1 across the windshield banner there. And then the killer Nissan. About to wrap this one up. Chevy Truckin', that was the sister pub. I have a few of those, not a lot. Some people have asked, hey, do I have Truckins? Yes, I have a ton. I mean, I have so many Truckins. It's crazy. I am going to try to go through as many as I can. That's why I kind of took a little break, because I was trying to put together the outtake version for issue 60, and I was like, you know what? I got to keep these going. I do also have a copy of this still in the bag, sealed, I should say. So shout out to my homie that sent me one of those, which is kind of a cool thing just to have. But issue 61, January 97. Try to keep these things going this week. Friday, I'm going to take a day off with my son. Enjoy some time before he goes back to school. Check it out. Mini's on the rise. Leave a comment, subscribe. We got you.